Welcome to this episode of The Wisdom of Paramahansa Yogananda, brought to you by Self-Realization Fellowship, where each week you can receive inspiration and guidance from Paramahansa Yogananda's Kriya Yoga teachings. The subject of this talk is The Guru, Guide to Eternal Freedom, by Brother Anilananda.
Good evening, everyone. It's a joy to be with you. And this is a huge subject this evening, the Guru Guide to Eternal Freedom. And I am a little curious about what goals are in your minds as far as when each of us leaves the body. How far are people wishing to go? For example, Sister Gyanamata, Guruji said, went all the way to omnipresent liberation. So I'm going to take a little survey. And there are 4 options. One is to keep reincarnating on earth for a while. I'll do a show of hands. I won't ask for howling and screeching. Another would be then staying in the astral and just kind of not coming back to earth, but incarnating in the astral for a while. Another option, a third option, would be going all the way to the causal, which is just everything in thought vibration, and enjoying that for untold time. And then the fourth option would be to go all the way back to oneness with God. So let's have a show of hands. Those who would like the first option would like to come back to earth for a while. Wow. I guess that's why we're all here. How about going to the astral and enjoying it and just spinning around in the astral for a while? Yes, some takers. Okay, how about the causal? And a few, yes, here and there. How many would like to go all the way back to God? Wow. Well, Master, look at that. Well, I've got some bad news for you. It isn't all that easy. And we'll do a little visualization to realize what we're really caught up in here on earth, because this isn't only earth. We've got the earth and the sun, and it isn't quite so simple as just the earth and the sun, and we die and we go to heaven and we live happily ever after. If you think about it, kind of expanding our consciousness to try to think of how big the universe really is and what it is we are really involved with. So we have our earth and the sun. Let's imagine, throw out there 10 suns and their planets or whatever. And then put 100 of them out there. Just create a universe, expand it out there. 100 suns, 1,000 suns, and whatever's around them, planets or whatever. 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000 suns. Just in your mind, throw them all out there. And then 100 billion suns. Now we have one galaxy. And there are apparently 100 billion galaxies. What are we caught up in? And then if we think about time, that's enormous also. We say the universe is maybe, 13 or 14 billion years old, something like that, and it's not finished yet. it's going on for a long way. And then there are some rather uncomfortable Gita slokas we're going to read. This has to do with the time and how everything goes on. This is chapter 8, verse 17, a fascinating series of slokas, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. So 17 says, this is chapter 8, they are the true knowers of day and night, who understand the day of Brahma, which endures for 1,000 cycles, and the night of Brahma, which also endures for 1,000 cycles. Verse 18 says, at the dawn of Brahma's day, when everything comes into manifestation, all creation reborn emerges from the state of non-manifestation. At the dusk of Brahma's night, all creation sinks into the sleep of non-manifestation. Those were the slokas, and Master, in his commentary, refers to the ceaseless cycles of Brahma's day and night, with creation and no creation. And Guruji said the wheel rotates forever of the comings and the goings. The cosmic dreams of the divine are eternal. Now, the subject today is Guide to Eternal Freedom, but this is implying, or I'm inferring from it, the cosmic dreams of the divine are eternal processes. Guruji said these cycles of evolution and involution are eternal. The show must go on. How long do you want to stay? But there's a bigger problem with all of this, and that's in verse 19. Maybe I shouldn't even read it. It's pretty scary, so don't get scared, okay? We'll get past this somehow. Again and again, O Arjuna, the same throng of men, now I'm sorry, ladies, but I'm sure you are included in this. The same throng of men helplessly take rebirth. Their series of incarnations ceases at the coming of night and then reappears at the dawn of day. And then in Guruji's commentary, he says, except for a few liberated men, the same multitude of beings are reborn many times during a day of Brahma. They rest without further incarnation during the night of cosmic dissolution, but with the coming of the day or cycle of cosmic creative manifestation, again, they start a round of karmically compulsory journeys in the physical, astral, and causal encasements. Krishna explains that the unmanifested state of cosmic dissolution is not one of final freedom, but merely a temporary resting place for unenlightened beings who are again to emerge as actors in the cosmic dream. Now, these were Guru's words of commentary about that sloka. And in the Rubaiyat, Guruji writes in a commentary, there are many souls born in the earliest morning of creation who are still roaming in reincarnation. How feels everybody? Wow. Guruji refers to the ignoble confinement that binds the majority to the ceaseless cycles of Brahma's days and nights. So why does Krishna go into this detail? And Guruji said Krishna refers to these vast cycles or yugas to impress on Arjuna's mind the folly of man allowing himself to remain a part of phenomenal existence, mechanically revolving from cycle to cycle. So what's the solution? I mean, if this place is so gigantic, and if time goes on for so long, what do we do? If we're not conscious, we will just be part of this cycle. But when we are conscious and we want to go back to omnipresent liberation like Sister Gyanamata, what do we do? Guruji said, though the cosmic dreams of the divine are eternal processes, man is not eternally bound to them. The wheel rotates forever, but one by one, wise men, women, beings slip away from it. And then he says this colossal, wonderful sentence. For those who seek early liberation, the Lord sends his avatars to show the way to hasten salvation. And so, Guruji, we thank you very, very much. That's why all of us are here, and all of us are serious that we really want something better. An avatar is one who attains union with spirit and then returns to earth to help mankind. It means avatar, descent of divinity into flesh. Swami Shivananda of the Divine Life Society said of Guruji, as a rare gem of inestimable value, the like of whom the world is yet to witness. Paramahansa Yogananda has been an ideal representative of the ancient sages and seers, the glory of India. And one of the Shankaracharyas said of Guruji, as a bright light shining in the midst of darkness, so was Yogananda's presence in this world. Such a great soul comes on earth only rarely, when there's a real need among men. And there is a real need now, isn't there? And isn't it wonderful that he incarnated early enough that the general message is spreading so much? An avatar comes for two purposes. One is quantitative, just generally helping raise everybody's consciousness with these new ideas. And we can see how that has happened so much already with Guruji's ideas. But then he also comes with this qualitative, to help individual souls be completely free. And the main purpose is this: helping as many souls as possible to attain liberation. The latter is a very personal and private spiritual bond formed. And as we travel around the world and you come here and we listen to you, the monastics are thrilled and very impressed to see and understand the personal bond that each of you have with him and the fun he has playing with you on all corners of the earth. It's this personal bond. You know, I was in Dominican Republic in an interview, partway up the stairs there's a little room, and a lady came running up the stairs for the interview, holding lesson 13 in her hand. That's all she'd gotten. And she said, Master has done this and Master that. And she was so excited, and I was so excited. I was looking at her. Here's the devotee, the lesson, and the guru. And that's happening all around the world. And it's this wonderful personal bond formed between the guru and the disciple, a union of loyal spiritual endeavor on the part of the disciple and divine blessings bestowed by the guru. Let's just feel for a moment, letting him just bestow the divine blessings, because that's his job and his joy, to visit each individual person and just caress us on the brow and say, you have no idea how much I love you. I don't know why I'm talking about Dominican Republic so much. It happens other places too, but I was giving Kriya there, and it was as if Guruji were standing right there. I didn't see him or anything, but as each one was coming forward, as if he was standing right there, rubbing his hands together and saying, "Oh, good, here's this devotee again," So this beautiful personal bond. Disciples are those who follow completely and steadfastly, dedicated and devoted until they have found their own freedom in God. So that's what the Guru does. In his autobiography, he wrote, "The starry inscription at one's birth, I came to understand, is not that a man is a puppet of his past. Its message is rather a prod to pride. The very heavens seek to arouse man's determination to be free from every limitation. His freedom is final and immediate if he so wills. It depends not on outer, but inner victories." And he said, "I often point out that all men," so then he was talking about how many people could become millionaires in this lifetime if they wanted to. It would take several lifetimes to get into the circumstances, but I also point out that all men, being already made in the image of God, can attain Him in one lifetime by making the proper spiritual effort under the guidance of a true Guru. So I want to really emphasize this point. We've mentioned how it could be scary, that the universe is so huge and the time goes on and the cycles and recurring and all this kind of stuff. But we want to really emphasize this point, that all people, being made in the image of God, can attain Him in one lifetime. And then he says, by making proper spiritual effort under the guidance of a true Guru. And in the summer issue of the 2011 magazine, one of the monks said, a small group of monks had an interview with Dayamata, and he asked her, "Is it possible to find God in one lifetime?" And she replied without hesitation, "Absolutely. I could never accept the thought that one cannot find God in this life. To harbor these types of thoughts impedes the devotee's progress by negative thinking." Isn't that fascinating? That if we think we can't, we are the ones who are stopping it. So Guruji is encouraging us all to feel all doors are open. He and the teachings take us as far as we want to go. That's his purpose. That's why we met him. Kriya Lesson 3, SRF is resolved to show you that cosmic consciousness is attainable in one lifetime if you properly and continuously cooperate in this divine endeavor. So, how do we cooperate? How do we tune in with the one who is trying to help us do what we all said we wanted to do, go back to omnipresent liberation? And it reminds us of what Jesus said, "If you love me, keep my commandments. If you keep my commandments, ye shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. If a man love me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him, and we will come unto him and make our abode with him." And so, this is what Guruji says too, and we say as devotees, how do we tune in with Guruji? By following what he would like us to do. And there are 3 big points that we're going to think about today, and they seem to be the big 3. He even mentioned them toward the end of the autobiography. And probably it's been talked about several times this week, but Dayamata talks about the last week of February 1952, when Guruji was called in from the desert and there was going to be this banquet for the ambassador of India. And she said, a few days before the banquet at the Biltmore, they were preparing food, and then Guruji asked her to walk with him, and in front of Sri Yukteswarji's picture, he said to her, "Do you know it's only a matter of hours, and I will be gone?" And she said not long before that, when he'd mentioned this, she said to him, "What will we do without you? You are the diamond in the ring of our hearts and your society. Of what value is the setting without the beauty of the diamond?" Then came the answer from the great Bhakta. "Remember this, when I am gone, only love can take my place. Be absorbed night and day in the love of God, and give that love to all." Now, is this love just a sentimental, nice thing? If we go back to those very startling Gita slokas, about the cycles, about the same throng of people helplessly taking rebirth, the next two slokas talk about the absolute spirit, where we all said we wanted to go. So many did. Almost everybody. And then the very next sloka says how to get there. This is verse 22. It said, "By single-hearted devotion, O Arjuna, that supreme unmanifested is reached." So that's a pretty big point about the power of love. And Sri Yukteswar explained scientifically how it works. He said, coming out of that omnipresent spirit, there are these two forces that get everything going in order to have vibration. There's a push out into manifestation, and then there's a pull back causing vibration. And he called it ignorance, the repulsion. And what was the other one? It was love, the attraction. And so this is really important. And why Guruji said, only love can take my place, and why all the commandments say to love, this isn't sentimental. This is a force that will take us all the way back from the physical, the astral, the causal, to vibrationless spirit. It's what the Gita says. And Sri Yukteswarji goes on. He said, love is the principal requisite for the attainment of holy salvation. And then he talks about wandering in the creation of darkness. Sri Yukteswarji, if we properly cultivate this ruling principle naturally implanted in our hearts, we're sure to be on the right path to save ourselves from wandering in this creation of darkness. So this point of Guruji, the sole gift a human being may present to the infinite giver is love. And if we talk about attunement with Guruji, and he's encouraging us to develop this heart quality in relation to God, we can understand from this how absolutely vital it is to us who want to attain that omnipresent liberation. So then the question becomes, how in the world do you love something that's invisible, inaudible, unfeelable, you can't touch it seemingly? And we've been talking about three big points here, and the first big one is that it's love, this vibration of love, this river of love that will take us where we want to go. So the second question is, how do we develop that? And Guruji said, the salvation of souls through Kriya Yoga is my singular aim. And all of our techniques, energization, Hangsa, Om, and then the Kriya itself, they're all pranayama. They're all part of this Kriya Yoga package. And I'd like to say something about Kriya and the spine that may help people in doing Kriya. And it's something that's very exciting to me, and it's from Discourse 75 in the Second Coming of Christ. And Guruji said, within the physical spine, is the outermost astral spine, or sushumna. And then he said there are two more astral spines. All of this is within the physical spine. And in the center of core of consciousness. And he said it's in the center where the soul has come down with the life force. And then he says about Kriya, and this may help some people to understand what we're doing when we're doing Kriya. Kriya teaches man to ascend heavenward by leading the ego, mind, and life force through the same spinal channel that was used when the soul originally descended into the body. And we can just try to think of the spine now and think of where's the center of the spine. And my gosh, that's where the soul and the consciousness came down inside there and then went out through these 3 astral tubes into the physical and into the body. Now in Kriya, we want to bring it all back in. The ego has to be made to ascend through the same spinal path until it realizes its true self as the soul, and the soul reunites with spirit. And this is the highway, and so we know the route. If we want to go back to omnipresent spirit, then he's saying, take it from the ego to the soul to realize the oneness with God. So the second big point we're talking about, if we want to attune with Guru, it'll be doing the techniques that he's given us. Dayamata said in a satsang with us, because she talked so much about love, but she said, let's face it, we can cry to God all we want, but Guruji brought the techniques scientifically to help us to go inside. And when we interiorize even a little bit, we get closer to our spiritual nature, a greater sense that oh my gosh, I may have a spiritual part. I'm beginning to feel the spiritual sensitivity, the love of God coming upon me. I'm still. There's a chance for the awakening of the heart's natural love that Sri Yukteswar talked about. This embrace of divine love. So he's given the techniques, and we can attune with the Guru by doing our very best every morning and evening with whatever time we have, even if they need to be short, to be sure that we do some of each of them. And then we bring from the soul and spirit right into the thought body, the light body, the physical body. We can feel God's presence when we bathe our mind and body in that peace. Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." Guruji said, we're manufacturing peace in meditation. It's opposite from in a factory. The faster it goes, the more it manufactures. With us, the slower we become, the more peaceful, the greater the manufacture of peace. We're actually drawing it from the vibrationalist realms. And all the techniques are part of that. So the Guru, the guide to eternal freedom, we've talked about 2 big things now. We've talked about the importance of love, how that works, and then Guruji has given the techniques to help us go inside and awaken the love. But then there's one other big point. And Guruji said, and give that love to all. And this is often very, very hard to do. It's so easy to get in arguments with people. And as you get older, you realize, I don't want to behave the way I used to behave. And if the young people can get this early, there's so many crossroads, so many decisions in life, where if we can learn to behave properly in those, it changes the whole course of life. So giving that love to others. And Jesus said something similar to his disciples. This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. By this shall all men know, Jesus said, that you are my disciples. And in Guruji's commentary on this, in the second coming of Christ, Guruji says, Jesus is saying, this love, if expressed by you, would be the spiritual insignia. This would be the distinguishing sign by which people of the world can recognize you as my disciples. So the question now for all of us here, I'm throwing it out, is what would be the spiritual insignia of SRF members? When Dayamata used to look out over the world, when Rinlinimata looks out over the world, what is she wanting to see in all of us? And it's surely these three big points: the love for God, the daily practice of the techniques, and giving that love to all. There's a devotee here from New York, and he's here at this convocation. And a few years ago, he said, I finally figured out the teachings. They're so vast, but it comes down to doing the Kriya, loving God, and being kind to your neighbor. And that's what Guruji put at the end of his whole autobiography. He mentioned these 3 points. And if we do these 3 big main ones, this is the way to tune in with the Guru. Then he will say, you are keeping my words, and I will come to you, and the blessing will be there. So, in thinking of this loving your neighbor thing, there can be so many facets of it. And trying to make it simple for myself, the one word that I ended up with was friendship. Because if one is a friend, there's a whole cluster of qualities and abilities that are part of being a friend. So in an emergency, if we say, okay, how can I be friendly here? It can bring back this whole range. And it's too long to read all these aspects of friendship right now. But Guruji said, so this is my prayer for you. And it involves this word friendship. And wouldn't this please him? And wouldn't this be the insignia? People practice the teachings, the techniques morning and evening. They try to have a little time in the sweetness, the most precious exchange of love. And then they come out of their meditation. And then this third point, he said, this is my prayer to all of you, that all of you learn how to be true friends, how to be truly loving souls. If you have that divine attitude, you will be conquerors of hearts, one who extends his love to friends and enemies alike, ultimately beholds the presence of the one love everywhere. Doesn't that make sense? A wise person beholds in the circumference of his cosmic love a galaxy of friends, and also those who consider themselves to be his enemies. And Dayamata said of Guruji, he had that ability to project from himself the essence of what he was, an embodiment of the divine qualities of friendship and love and goodwill. Now, being friendly doesn't mean that we let ourselves be walked over. We can be friendly and be firm. And Guruji said, it's a common human blunder to resist anger with anger. And I have done it many times, and I'm wanting to change. And what is helping me, Guruji said, if you never get angry at life's reverses or at their human instigators, you will be able to see your way more clearly through whatever may be going on around you. Fight not even for truth if love is not in thy heart. These are Guruji's words. First, culture love. Love is thy strength and thy greatest ally. So SRF members are really trained in this. Someplace Guruji said, as long as we hold hatred or repulsion toward anyone, so long will we keep roaming in those corridors of incarnation. So here we come back to the magnitude of this third point of loving our neighbor. It's that important that we try to be loving and friendly when we're differing, even if we have to block, because people will try to run right over us, steal it, kill us, do everything. But if we can try to maintain the friendly, the loving feeling, which will help us think more clearly, how can we stop whatever that is? And so SRF members are particularly trained in this because of our meditation, feeling the presence, and then sending that love to others. Guruji said the one thing that will help eliminate world suffering more than money, houses, or any other material aid is to meditate and transmit the divine consciousness of God that we feel. We had a Peace and Harmony weekend in San Diego in 2007, and I wrote to Dayamata that we were doing that, and she wrote back immediately saying, encourage the devotees to understand that the most important principle in this world right now, when there is so much struggle between good and evil, is praying for peace. Because the prayer vibrations go out there and they counteract the negative vibrations. Guruji said, the vibratory force of God's love, consciously directed by man, neutralizes the power of evil. One moon gives more luster than all the stars. So a mooned soul, one who purely reflects the light of God, can influence the masses more than the masses influence each other. The goodness of one soul may effectively neutralize the mass karma of millions. The United Nations every year, now it's set on September 21st, the International Day of Peace. And at Hollywood the last 3 years, we've devoted that weekend that's closest to the 21st, our regular meditations and services to be focused around world peace. And have meditations where we become still, where we try to change ourselves, try to love those with whom we may be having difficulty, and then send love all around the world. And we would invite members all around the world to join us in supporting the International Day of Peace. Because SRF members, particularly of anybody all around the world, are specially trained to send out the vibration of love and harmony, which will nullify the negative vibrations around. I was looking for an acronym that could help me when I started to get in an argument with somebody. What do I do now, kind of thing? How do I gain my composure? So I thought, okay, I'll try to remember that the person is a soul. So this acronym will have an S in it. You know where I'm going with this? And then the next thing I thought, well, if this person is a soul that I'm about to get in an argument with, I should really respect this soul. And then, well, if I'm going to respect, then I realized this package of being friendly, if I can simply be friendly. So I wrote down be friendly, and then I highlighted the first 3 letters. SRF. So the spiritual insignia, practice of Kriya, be absorbed in the love of God, and give that love to all. I'd like to just end with a personal story that someone from another continent sent in. We talked about this personal relationship with God. Sri Yukteswarji said to keep company with the Guru is not only to be in his physical presence, as this is sometimes impossible, but mainly means to keep him in our hearts, to be one with him in principle, and to attune ourselves with him. So this person wrote from South America, I am writing because I wanted to share a most blissful experience I had with Guruji. I had been having a kind of cyst in my body for the whole of the last year. First it was small, so the doctor said to leave it there unless it increased in size or was painful. After we returned from Los Angeles in February, it started growing gradually. This last month it was very big and painful, and I realized I would have to get an appointment with the doctor and see what the problem was, and so on. Then 2 weeks ago, after my morning meditation, so the person was meditating, I was, and this is so sweet, I was kneeling in front of a big image of Master. We have at home the one taken at the inauguration of Lake Shrine, in front of which I often meditate and pray. I was just then praying for guidance about this problem. It was a very old copy of the picture. I remember having at home since I was a kid, and I'm 46 now, so the colors are a bit faded. Master's eyes are like closed and dark. But suddenly I saw in his right eye, in the picture, his eye. I could see his look, his eye open, looking at me. I was overwhelmed by this brilliant, sweet, and profound look. I looked deep into his eye for as long as it lasted, a couple of minutes. Then it vanished, and the eye of the picture was dark again. I plunged at his feet again, with my heart overwhelmed with joy and tears in my cheeks, and thanked him with all my heart for so much love, for such a blessing, and I knew I was cured. This last Monday, the 5th of May, when I awoke, the cyst was gone, no trace of it. I wanted to share this beautiful blessing of Master's, who I can see now is always there with us. He is always caring for us, is so much pure and absolute love. Guruji, we kneel in thy presence and we feel the radiance of your blessing coming upon us. Help us this week to change. Help us to practice the techniques deeply, to increase our love for God, and to learn to share that love with everyone. We kneel at thy feet, and we offer thee the greatest gratitude and love of our hearts. Jai Guru. God bless us all.
This has been a production of Self-Realization Fellowship, a non-profit organization founded by Paramahansa Yogananda in 1920. For more information about Self-Realization Fellowship and Paramahansa Yogananda, please visit yogananda.org.